Hi, everybody. Welcome to Inside Scoop with Sue. And today I'm really excited to have this conversation. It's not just going to be about how we impact our teens, which of course is our raison d'etre, but it's going to affect all of us because this is about people. This is not just about parenting teenagers. So Michelle Segar, who is the author of The Joy Choice, I love the title, How to Finally Achieve Lasting Changes in Eating and Exercise. Michelle is a sustainable behavior change scientist, which I didn't know there was that thing, but I love that there's something called that. It's awesome. And you have spent most of your post high school at University of Michigan, and you remain there. And as a proud mom of 2 alumni, go Blue. So Michelle, thanks so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me, Susan.
Okay, I want to start with, also, guys, as you come on, we have some books to give away. So Jessica's going to put how you can either purchase it or become part of the raffle. And you would just email me if you want to be entered into the raffle. So our hidden Jessica will get that into the chat. I want to start with something completely unrelated just because I'm fascinated. You ran with an Olympic torch. How'd that happen? Just tell us quickly. What was that?
Sure. I was working for the Olympic Committee in 1992, a long time ago, and they put out a call within the employees of the Olympic Committee, which is thousands of people, and I applied and I wrote my application in Catalan, which I was learning. And I thought, if an American is making the effort to learn this language that so few people speak, then maybe I'll have a good chance of being picked, because it was being run by the people of Catalonia, and they're very proud of their language and their culture. And I got picked.
Amazing. Wait, I've never even heard that language. Where is the origin?
Catalonia is a region of Spain where Barcelona is like the center of it. And there's been a huge, the politics with Catalonia and the rest of Spain, as there's lots of independence movements. I love Catalonia. I love the Catalan people. So that's how I did it. And
Okay,
it was
hard. Yeah,
it was
for
hard.
a whole other conversation, because
Yes.
it sounds fascinating. Okay, so let's start. To me, this is the most obvious question about change and changing habits is New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
And we all know they fail. So what's the problem with that?
Gosh, I love that question, because it really it hits where we need to start. And where we need to start is that typically when we initiate a change in behavior related to eating or exercise, it is often at some fundamental period like New Year's resolutions. It could be the beginning of summer, it could be an upcoming wedding, but there's a reason. Or it could be leaving our doctor's office and having been admonished for not losing the weight that they told us we needed to lose the year before. So whatever the reason or season, we initiate a change in what I call a motivation bubble. So we're full of inspiration and commitment, and we know that this time we're going to do it. But what happens is that our decision to do it, our plans for doing it, are inside of this overinflated, fragile bubble. And they can live safely with it for a couple weeks. But as soon as we come up against some unexpected, mundane thing in our daily life, it bursts the bubble. And what happens is our plan that we had, whether it was an eating plan that we're at a party and we didn't know that there wasn't going to be anything we couldn't eat, or we get an urgent call from our school that says we have to pick up our kids because whatever, they have lice or something. Whatever it is, right? Life, mundane things, it bursts the bubble, and our plans and the goals they're attached to and aiming to achieve go right down the drain. So
I want to say that concept that you just articulated, for me, it's so my life. And I just thought it was my life, but it's so comforting for you to tell us that this is so many people's lives.
This is the vast majority of people's lives. And, I don't want to spend too much time in this, but what's really important to know is it's not your fault, just like it's not everyone else's fault who has experienced this. And the reason why is because, and I don't know that we're going to have time to go into it, but our whole approach to healthy eating and exercise, we've learned through being indoctrinated and educated through our culture, and it sets most people up to fail. It sets most people up to create a motivation bubble that bursts quickly. And so what we've been doing is just staying stuck on the same vicious cycle of failure, but it's not our fault because the formula society has given us sets us up to fail.
Okay, so I want to jump to the end because I do read the end of books. So you have solutions for this.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us, how do we get out of this motivational bubble healthy and whole and able to move forward?
Right. Wow. I'm trying to decide how I want to jump into this because usually I don't get to this to the end.
I know. I want to go back to the other stuff, but
That's okay.
I can't wait.
So the solution is first, it's the duh. We've got to stop doing it this way. We've got to start doing it in a way that is more pragmatic. So the other is aspirational. Unfortunately, as soon as our aspirations hit the road and bump up into something, they burst. And so we have to go from what am I hoping? Oh gosh, I'm getting back into those jeans or something in the future. I also want to say, we'll get back to this. I'll get back to your question. This is so, while it might be a lived experience, it might feel counterintuitive. Attaching our eating and exercise projects to weight loss is just about the worst thing we can do if we actually hope to ever lose and sustain weight or to stick with these behaviors that are such important parts of our self-care. So what we need to do, part of the solution, is we need to ground our movement and our intentional eating with who we are at our core and how we hope to feel every day, and how so that we can feel our best and have that much more energy and enthusiasm for the things that are most meaningful to us and the people that are most meaningful to us. So with that as a core shift, let's talk about more pragmatic aspects. With the right why, with the right type of goal. And by the way, this won't be news to a lot of people. While when my first book came out, this was kind of brand new. Oh my gosh, we need to stop doing this. There's a lot of people talking about this right now because the research.
What's the title of your first book?
No Sweat.
Okay.
And that's about how to convert exercise from a chore into a gift. This book is about the realities of our daily lives and why our eating and exercise keep busting apart when they fall apart, when they bump up against them. What we need to do is basically we need to shapeshift. I've never used that term before when I've been in a conversation. We need to shapeshift our goals, our plans when it comes to healthy, intentional eating and exercise. And why is that? In every other area of our life, when the dentist calls the day before and says that they need to cancel the appointment, we don't go, screw you, I'm firing your butt because I can't do my appointment like I had planned to. Like, we don't do that. Or when we can't make an appointment with a friend, a drink that we had scheduled months in advance, they don't dump us because we had to change things, right? Life happens and we have to adapt and shapeshift. But when it comes to eating and exercise, we don't bring that same grace and flexibility and smarts, right? Can't do it? Oh no. I had a piece of pizza. Oh gosh, I'm going to eat the whole thing. I really screwed up and failed, spiraling us into this negativity and cycle of failure. Or I can't get to the gym or do my 60-minute workout, whatever it is, I failed. We don't bring the same wisdom and grace to our eating and exercise. So the solution, you can see there's different parts of the solution. A key part of the solution is we have to bring the same pragmatism to our eating and exercise. And that means it doesn't mean we don't make plans, because any parent knows that if you don't make plans and put it in the calendar and know what you're going to do, whether your kids are living in the house or whether you're retired and have so much time on your hands, if you don't schedule something, it doesn't happen. If you don't figure out your meal plan and get the ingredients and figure out what you're going to cook, it doesn't happen. So we need our plans. But what we also need is we need a reality-based approach to addressing when our plans come apart, which when don't they? Because that is what keeps us off the path of lasting change, is that we don't know how to flex and shape shift and do the littlest amount because it's worth doing and feel proud of ourselves for doing it. So I'll stop because I know I just threw a lot at you.
No, I feel like it is, we are set up for failure, and maybe it's because we're being sold a story that isn't true, but that sense of getting it wrong and all or nothing, it's not productive. We know it and we can't get out from under it. Okay, so let's go back to some of the things that I had overlooked because I was dying to hear your end.
Okay.
So you have this, I love the idea that there are two different kinds of people, habiters and inhibitors, and how, we all know some of them and some of them. So tell us what you mean by that and why the distinction is important.
Sure. Well, that was a fun concept that I created just to help people think more critically about what they've been doing and who they are, because ultimately the strategies we use for behavior change really need to fit our personalities and the true realities of our daily content. So a habiter is someone who can successfully, who has innate discipline. They're people who have unconscious automatic habits, for example, for exercising, let's say. And my husband is one of them. So I live with a habiter. And one of the things I know about habiters is that he's not just disciplined when it comes to exercise, and he doesn't just kind of have a rigid way. He eats the same lunch every day, no deviation. He lives his life organized and routinized, if I'm saying it right. Now, I'm the alternative category. And again, this is not based on decades of science. This is based on my decades of coaching with people and insights into human nature. So I hope people will just enjoy this and use it as a tool to think more deeply about who they are and what hasn't worked and what can work. I'm an unhabiter. And what does that mean? It means I'm less organized. It means I'm comfortable having dirty dishes in the
Wait, it's unhabiter,
unhabiter.
Habiter and unhabiter. Okay.
Yes. And I do have to say, just because of the type of podcast this is, I do have to say that my mother was one of my readers for the book as I was writing it, and she was giving me feedback, and she's like, Michelle, I don't really know if it's very professional for a scientist to come up to call someone an unhabiter. I'm not really sure you should keep that. And I said, Mom, thank you, for that wonderful feedback. Her feedback is wonderful and really helped shape the book. But I thought, you know what? I really like this distinction, so I'm going to keep it anyway. So
Me too. I'm in your camp. I liked it a lot.
Okay, good. So unhabiters, we tend to be the point people of our families. Now, my husband is a very involved father and parent. I depend on him for so many things, but I'm the point person. I'm the person who drives our son to school. I'm the person who gets called if he needs to be picked up. And by the way, thankfully, we've never had a lice call, but I am at some point expecting to get that. And we tend to juggle a lot of different roles. And that means that our life has a lot of unexpected. I'm not as organized as my husband. My life is not routinized as him. So to explain why this matters, he exercises regularly and has been doing so for decades. His strategy is the very popular habit formation strategy, and it works for him because he's a habiter. But let's talk about why it doesn't work for me and other people who might be like me. Habit formation, again, super popular, common sense. Who doesn't want to offload their choices? Who doesn't want to not need willpower because it's on automatic pilot? Our GPS is on, we don't have to think about it. And, I do have a flossing habit, so it's a really great example to use when I'm explaining why an exercise automatic habit won't work for me. Habit formation is based on a habit loop, and it's typically discussed as having a cue, the cue, brushing, and then the behavior part 2, grab my floss. There's an automatic connection there. I do not have to think about it every night when I do it. And then the third part of the cue is some type of reward. Is it the clean feeling in my mouth? Is it the sense of satisfaction knowing that I'm, I just did my dental hygienic thing and I'm good to go? And that, when you do it enough times, your brain develops this automatic association: brushing, flossing, brushing, flossing, no thought needed. Now, the cue, the important thing to know about the cue the habit loop is that it's got to stay the same. Any disruption in that will break it down. So let's think about flossing in the bathroom. There aren't really a lot of people most of the time there to disrupt the cue between my brushing and my flossing. Now let's take that same habit loop, right, that works so well in an isolated room with a simple behavior, and let's put it right in the middle of our daily lives where we are getting phone calls and the dog just puked and the work deadline that our client had for us got moved up. There's a lot of hubbub and chaos. So the habit loop, any deviation will break it down. And so even habit researchers say variety weakens, the habit loop. So you must arrange your life to unfailingly cue your habit. Well, that may work well in a laboratory, but when those of us who are inhabitors are living our lives, it doesn't work so well. So that's why this distinction, again, it's not, I haven't evaluated it from a scientific perspective. It's a way to ask people, consumers, readers, podcast listeners, to think, who am I? Am I more of a habiter or an unhabiter? What I believe and what I've seen with my husband is he brings the same routine and organization and dependability to every area of his life. And so to some extent, it reflects what we know about habit formation, which is that people with more innate discipline are more able to form habits.
Okay, but so let's move to the other group, which I'm clearly a part of, and I imagine most mothers are. So what are the protective factors? How do we get around the fact that I'm never going to be your husband?
Right.
So now how do I move into, like, what are your tools that you would suggest to us to kind of be able to navigate this?
So, that's the question. That's why I wrote the book. What we need is basically the exact opposite of habiters. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we have, there's this unconscious route of making the consistent choices we hope to make that keep us on the path of lasting change for healthy eating and exercise. And the alternative is using our consciousness and using our mental wherewithal, our mental prowess, which is, we already have it in our brains. We just have to learn how to harness it and support it. So, I just had something. I just had something I was going to say. And, here's why, as we.
Okay, that's hysterical because you're not.
Yeah, because I'm an inhabitor and my working memory already lost what I wanted to say.
Well, you have this tool, POP, right? So
yes, and that's what it's for. So basically, we have. Before I describe POP, I just want to say our brains have this wonderful thing called executive functioning, which is our innate ability to manage projects, long-term projects, to make decisions, to pivot when we need to, and of course, moms and other parents and other unhabiters know we have to do this well, and we do it in every other area of our lives. So what we need to do is I want to say this again. I said this earlier. We still need to have plans, because if we don't have plans, nothing is going to happen. But what we need to understand is that when our plans go awry, when we bump up against something unexpected, which I refer to as choice points, we need to just have a simple tool we can call to mind to help guide our thinking so that it's focused and it doesn't use up, it's not stressful. And I developed a tool called POP to support our 3 primary executive functions. And I don't think I'll go into that unless you want. So I'm just going to talk about POP.
Okay.
Why is it called POP? There's 2 reasons. Number 1, we talked about how the bubble bursts, right? Our motivation bubble bursts at the beginning because something happens, because our goals were too aspirational, and real life bursts the bubble and everything goes down the drain. What we're doing with POP is we are metaphorically popping our plan. Whatever the gym plan is, whatever the eating plan is, life happens. We are taking ownership and we're saying, I'm not going to let life burst my bubble. I am going to pop it myself. So, POP stands for, so not only is it this empowering metaphorical action that we are taking ownership of, which is very important if you're going to stick with your behavior of choice. Pause. It's an acronym that we can easily recall into our brain in the moment we need it. This is about improvisation. This is not about the plan. This is about having a tool that can help us improvise in successful ways. I pause. The pause is this tactical strategy that's been around for thousands of years. I didn't make it up. I'm just harnessing it for the acronym. Why do we pause? It gives us a moment to create a space and go get away from the all or nothing thinking that tends to derail our plans. It gives us a space to say, oh, I really don't want to eat what my friend is offering me, but I see that I feel like I need to be nice and accept it. Name it to tame it, which is what Dan Siegel, I'm sure you know all about Dan Siegel. I'm a huge fan of his work. Name it to tame it. And then all that inner chatter that gets in the way, I'm going to, screw you diet, or I need to be a nice person and accept this food that I actually don't want to eat. Once we do that, we're able to focus and get to the next step, which is open up our options and play. This supports our cognitive flexibility, which is one of our executive functions. And by the way, remember, we do this in every other area of our life. When something becomes unworkable, our mommyhood and parenting skills, whether we're a mom or a dad, they kick in and we just go, okay, got to do this. We do this all the time. We can do the same thing with our eating and exercise plan. Once we realize that the all or nothing thinking that tended to derail us is a fallacy that we've been brainwashed to believe, which is not true. What do we do this? We think about, well, what are alternatives? I can't do the 60-minute walk outside, but do I have time for 15 minutes? Can I walk around the block with my family later after dinner? Can I dance while I'm stir frying? I mean, there's so many options, but we haven't been taught to think in that way. And I just want to pause. Sorry, I'm going to screw up the acronym for you. I want to stop here and give you a very quick story. The book launch has been going so well. It's been really exciting. I've been busy. I haven't had time to do my ideal plan. And so one night after dinner a few weeks ago, we're taking a walk after dinner around the block. I'm not talking about a 40-minute walk. I'm talking about like a 5-minute walk. And my astute 14-year-old looks at me and he says, Mom, is this a joy choice for you? So he knew what was going on. And I'm like, yes, it is. I didn't get the other thing in. This is my joy choice today. And then the third part of POP is pick the joy choice. And I'm so excited to define it for you. The joy choice is the perfect, imperfect option that lets us do something instead of nothing. Can we take a deep breath, please? Can we toss out perfection that has just thwarted us at every turn? And by the way, this might not just sound good to your ears. It's what research shows for healthy eating and exercise is going to be your tactic of success. So it doesn't just give us grace, it's what research suggests most of us or more of us will be can be more successful following.
Okay, so I want to hear, like, I'm here, I'm listening to all of this. I get off this Facebook Live or wherever you're watching it, and I'm like, wait, what's step one? So give me like a thing to start today for people who are listening and already feel overwhelmed with the number of things that
Right.
we need in our lives.
Well, the first thing people need is they need to have a plan. They need to know, and the plan can't be a should. Like I started out by talking about shoulds. We will never stick with should. So the first thing is just let's make it easy. Walking, let's make a plan to try to walk for 10 minutes every day, or on most days. That's my word, on most days, because I'm never going to do every day. So let's make a plan to do something that is going to feel nurturing in some way. If it's eating, let's make a plan to add one fruit or vegetable to our day. So it's got to be really simple. Okay, so forget about grandiose. And then let's figure out when we're going to do it. Like, again, you got to have some steps there. You got to know when you're going to do it. And then let's say you make a plan to walk outside with a friend. Maybe you're even meeting up before dinner with a friend. Something, you can't do it. You had to pick up your the carpool early and you can't walk with your friend. So here's what you do. You don't say, oh, screw it, which is what we do. I can't meet Samantha and walk with her, or I can't meet Tanisha and walk with her. Pause. I'm going to pop my plan. Take a deep breath. I see you, perfection, staring down at me. I'm not going to follow you. I'm going to open up my options. Oh, what are my options? Well, I can't walk with my friend. Before dinner, I could still walk to the mailbox and back. Everything, the research is very clear when it comes to taking care of ourselves. Everything counts. And so the way to help build consistency is to do something, even if it's the teeniest thing, even if it's you saying to yourself, you know what? I'm not going to walk to the mailbox, but I'm going to walk up the stairs 3 times. What we want to do is continuously reaffirm that this is valuable to us. And does that feel like less hard, Susan, to say that just taking a short walk because it's doing something instead of nothing and keeping you on the path, does that feel helpful or not?
Yeah. So what I want to say is, like, the yay for us is the thing we should talk about, instead of the, like, woe is me, or I screwed up, or this is so embarrassing, I can't tell anybody I just did that. It's like, yay for me.
Yay for me. And you know what? We should be talking about this. We shouldn't hide it, because this is part of the greater solution, is that we need to start talking about it as in our families, like I do with why my son knew that was a joy choice. I'm modeling for him, and we need to create a different culture around this. We need to create a culture around the joy choice, not around perfect images on Instagram. And then the third thing, that's it. Pick the joy choice. Yay, I'm just going to go up the stairs. And let's bring an experimental growth mindset to this, because this is a new learning process. Put pop in your contacts. Don't remember it. Like, I just forgot what I was going to say. So, and I think this is what I wanted to say that I forgot. When we think about sustainable change, that may sound like a grandiose goal, but what we're just talking about is putting one step in front of the other. When our kids mess up, we don't disown them. We just put the next step in front of ourselves as parents, right? It's just the way long-term life projects are. And so I guess I want to encourage people to completely shift from the old story of behavior change, which is based on perfection and aspiration, and for many of us, failure, to the new story of behavior change, which is based on pragmatism, science, not convention. The research on habit formation has very little evidence that it actually produces changes that last, even for behaviors like flossing, to tell you the truth. Let's shift from aspirational things that may sound good but don't have research backing it up to the research on flexibility, which shows that when we come to a choice with flexibility instead of aiming to hit the target every time, we're more likely to stick with it.
I mean, in some ways it sounds so simple, and in some ways it's like entirely mind blowing, like both at the same time.
Well, it needs to be simple to work.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my last question for you. We talked to parents of teenagers. This is important for everybody. If I'm not able to do it yet, like I'm at the beginning stages of trying to reframe how I look at change and choice, how do I get my teenagers? You have a teenager. How do I mean, I want them to do this along with me, but I'm not good at it yet.
Right. Well, there's a few different things. One thing from the get-go is we have to be very careful that we don't create a should environment and pressure people, because that is a boomerang for starting and then going in the exact opposite direction. So, I don't want to, I want to be really transparent. I struggle with this. I know the research, the most important thing is not infusing this with a should. So that's what I bring from the research. I'm aware that, and my husband is too, even though he's an exercise physiologist and a habiter. And so habiters tend to be, a little kind of rigid in their thinking, but he knows we don't want to create a feeling of shouldness in our son about things, because he's going to bring that into his life, the rest of his life, around whatever we're talking about. So there's a couple things. We can do it as a family project. You may get pushed back, and then you have to decide, am I going to assert that this is a family project? If you have a partner, you want to make sure that they're on board, and you want to make sure and very explicitly articulate why you're doing this as a family, what the value is that you're living as a family and that you're trying to embody as a family. If you're not going to make it as a family project, we have to be very careful to not push our kids to do healthy things in ways that feels like we're forcing it down their throat, because they will internalize that and rebel against it. So one of the things we can think about is modeling and talking out loud. I mean, my son didn't want to take a walk around the block, but he knew that as, a mom and a grown-up, that it was important for me. It was important enough for me to fit this in, that I kind of asked the family to go with me. And luckily my husband was supportive. And so, my son had to do it. But it's a time to talk. See, that's also time you want to also make sure that you create positive experiences. So if I was taking a walk with my husband, and we kind of mandate that Eli comes with us, like if it's our family time, and he grumbles, but he rides his bike or he takes a scooter. So we let him do it in the way that he wants to. And he doesn't have to be next to us the whole time, but it actually does create an opportunity for us as a family to do stuff. So it is about reframing the reason why you're doing it. But I would suggest taking on the family is that's a big ask. So I might suggest that you start with yourself and you talk out loud at the dinner about why you're doing it, and make sure to talk about it. Pick choices that are going to feel good, or at least not punishing, and talk about how you feel doing it and what it's giving to you. Whether it's the way you're choosing to eat, but really articulate the why and pick something really small, and then bring your family along in your conversation about how it's going, what's getting in the way, how you're trying to navigate that. And you can create a joy choice culture in your own family.
Well, I can't wait. I started the book. I haven't finished it. I can't wait to read the rest of it. And I also, I know how I feel when I say yay me about something. So I'm going to try and really put that in there into my space and hopefully maybe get my kids. I'm going to narrate it also. So hopefully my kids will start saying yay me about
Great.
them. Not me.
Yes. Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
Michelle Seeger, thank you so much for being here with us. And I really think it's extraordinary and can really impact so many of our lives. And I love having a word, even if it's not scientific, for who I am versus who your husband is.
Can I say one really quick thing that's
Sure.
relevant? I want to say, and it was my parenting and the books I read about parenting that really infused the need for this. So I just want to say the whole parenting experience is one of the reasons why this behavior change scientist wrote a book like this. So I just want to say that.
That's excellent. And if you want a copy of the book, get put in the raffle. Jessica, if you could put it in the chat again, we've got some copies to give away. So thank you again, Michelle.
Thank you.